Hello, welcome to the channel. So recently, after playing with Bun and JavaScript for a while, I was finally at the point when I was ready to deploy the app, and I was trying to figure out what will be the most efficient way of doing that. So first of all, I tried my standard approach, how I do with Clojure code, Java code, etc. And it's like build a Docker image and go to DigitalOcean for my hobby project, spin up VM, spin up Docker Compose inside, and then run your Docker images. So I tried that. I tried the smallest VM. It wasn't good because there's quite low resources for the Docker to run itself, and it wasn't too stable. So I was trying to find something else, and I ended up trying the Cloudflare Workers for the first time. And I was quite impressed how easy it is to start with Cloudflare Workers and how good is the developer experience. And in this video, I'd like to share with you guys how to start with that. And probably we'll end up with some small application that will be running on Cloudflare Workers, and it will use a Cloudflare D1 database, which is basically like a SQLite database. So that's it for the intro. Let's create our application and we'll start from there. So here we are in the terminal, and the only thing we need is Bun installed. So I have Bun -v. This is version I have. And to create a project, we'll use Hono framework template. And to do that, we will want to run Bun create Hono and the name of our project. So after that, it will ask us what we want to use, what runtime we want to use. And we're going to pick Cloudflare Workers today. We want to install dependencies, and then I prefer Bun as the package manager. So it will create a project for us, and now we can go inside and open it in the editor. So this is what we have from our Hono template for Cloud Workers. We have our index.ts file with a simple root, and it will say hello Hono. Also, we can check the package JSON, and for development command, we will actually use this Wrangler, which is a CLI tool to work with Cloudflare. And Wrangler toml will contain configuration that we will need to deploy our application. So for example, we can uncomment this block and we'll have access to my variable in our code. And we'll see that in a sec. So if we open terminal, we can now run Bun run dev to execute this command. And as you can see, our application is started on this port. So if we go here in the browser and we refresh this, we'll have our hello Hono. So for demonstration, I'd like to build a couple more routes. So we'll have, let's say, get customers to list customers. So we have a function here, C is context, and we want to return JSON. And let's say we have a list of objects, something like ID1, name, something. And now if we refresh this page, we can go to /customers. And we see our JSON returned. Let's do raw data like this. So in the second route we'll have is customers by ID. Let's say ID. And then we want to get custom ID. It will be context.request.params. And we'll get an ID from here. And let's say we want our ID for now to be here. And we can refresh this once again. Go here to 1. If we go to 2, we have ID 2. So this is our skeleton of the app. And we can actually try deploy that straight away to Cloudflare. If we go back to package.json, we see that there's a predefined deploy command, which is wrangler deploy, and then we specify the script for our worker. So if we stop this and we just run run deploy, wait a sec. So it says that we have we created and uploaded this Hono Cloudflare Workers, and it was published, and this is the URL of our deployment. If we grab that and paste here, we have our app running actually in the internet, and we can do customers. We have the same response, and customers 1, we have correct response as well. If we go now to Cloudflare console, we should see our new worker right here. And it will be some stats here, settings, for example, our env variable that we set in Wrangler toml file, in this one. We have access to that variable right here. If we go to docs for, so first of all, if we check an example of getting started example from Cloudflare Workers, so this is like a simplest example you can write. You don't need any framework for that. You can literally just type it in your editor and upload it manually to Cloudflare, and it will work. So the entire logic you will implement inside this fetch function that has access to the request. But you can imagine that if you're trying to build something more complex than just simple couple lines of JavaScript, you probably will need some helper for that. And this is why Hono framework is really useful, because it works on any runtime, and the routing is kind of optimized, so it's fast enough to run inside these restricted environments like Cloudflare Workers, which are restricted by a number of milliseconds that you can run in, for example, the free tier, etc. So Hono can build application like this into the format that Cloudflare Worker understands. So as the output, we'll have something like this, but a bit more complex. But this will be managed by Hono application. So, okay, the next thing we want is, let's take a look how we access those envs in our Hono application, and then we will work with the database. We'll deploy a database, and we'll connect our application to D1 database. So to support types, we can do something like this. We can go right here, put it inside our code, and then we want to use this name. And we go here, change this. We don't need an extra thing. And also, we want to add a database as well. And the type for that is D1 database. So if we want access to our var, we can just do console.log. And let's say we want to print, how it's called, my var is, and to access that you do context from here. That's like our request, env dot my var. Actually, I forgot to add the types right here. So we want to add this annotation, and after we do that, we will have access here to auto-completion. So we have our var. Let's run the app locally again. Run dev. Should be here. If we go to customers, we now should see the console log right here with the value of the var. So in Cloudflare, it's called bindings, I believe. And this is basically the vars that you can access in your application. So you can set env, base URLs, etc. And also if you want a secret var, we can do it from the CLI, or we can do it from the UI. So if we go to edit vars and we add a new one, let's say my secret, and let's say secret value, and then you click on encrypt. So once we save it, it will show here as encrypted value, encrypted var, but we can access that from our code because it will be available for our application. So let's say we want to just to see if that works, we can do c.env .mysecret, and we should define the type here. It will be mysecret string. Now we want to deploy that. So we do run deploy. So now we can check it here. And now we have this secret value that was from our secret binding. Cool. Now probably the most interesting part is to connect that to a SQLite database. And in Cloudflare, it's called D1. They're basically using SQLite and building their own version of that. That is really nicely integrated with Cloudflare Workers. So first of all, we need to create the database. Let's do it like this. So we have our Cloudflare Workers D1, create. So after that, you want to get this block and put it into the TOML file. And this will help us to test this locally, because when you run this Wrangler in development mode, it will create a local SQLite database, and it will correctly connect it to our local worker or local GS code, and we'll be able to use same API for the database locally as we do it in our production deployment. So first of all, let's go back to our UI, and here under the workers there is a D1 section, and now we should see our new database created here. There's like a basic UI here. You can do some queries and metrics, and you see your tables. So then we want to create a file with a schema. So let's say schema SQL, and let's create a simple table. Create table customers. We want ID integer, primary key, and then let's say name, text, and email text. And let's do a couple inserts. Insert into customers, name, email, and then values, name 1, email 1, sample.com, maybe 2 of those, say 2 and 2. Now to fill that data in production database, there is a command for that. You can open an interactive shell and just type commands there, but you can also use a command to apply all scripts, all statements from the file. And it is right here. So we want this thing. So we do execute on our database that we called workers, and then you just provide a path to your file that we have locally. So this is done. And also the same thing, but to create a database locally. And the only difference is that we have this -- local. It is created. To find the database, you go to this .wrangler folder, and then state and D1. And then we have our miniflare D1 database object. And if you in IntelliJ, you can just double click on this database object, run test connection, it should work, apply, okay, and then go to this UI for that, and we can do select from customers, and we have our data from our local database. But also, as we already applied that in our production deployment, we can refresh this thing, and we should see our customer table. We should probably see rows here. Yeah, so it works. And finally, we want to go back to our application, and then we want to query customers in this API call and query customer by ID in this API call. So it's quite easy to do. So what we want is we want const results, and we want c.env and then db, and it's called db because we added naming like this. And also if we go to our toml file, you see the name of binding is db. So if it was something like db1 or my db, this will be the name that you should use, but we just have db. So after that, we also have this binding type defined here, and we can use it like this. So API is simple. You do call prepare to create a prepared statement, and then we want select all from customers, and there is also chain it with all function. Then we should await, and this is now a sync. And yeah, that's after that we should have results. So let's do just console print log results. Or we probably can just add it here because we anyway return JSON, and that's the response of our query. And there's some metadata and status, but basically we're just interested in these results. So we can say like customers, and we can do customers dot results, and that should work. Refresh, we have our customers here, and raw data is just an array of maps. And then we can use the same thing in our single API. What we want now is we want where statement, where ID equals, and then you just do bind, and we pass customer ID right here. Now let's say customers, and this should be changed to a sync. Now we go back, customer 1, like this. And also, if you expect a single value, instead of all, you can use first. And in that case, we don't have to get results. So if we refresh it here, we just have a nice response for a single customer. And now, if we go back to our terminal, we can run run deploy. And as we already created this production database, everything should work here as well. So now we should see our customer 1, yes, which is correct result, and our customer's endpoint is working as well. So as you can see, that's the entire application created. It's really easy to update new version. There are also really cool features like you can create branches, you can have your preview version, you can have production branch where like your production deploy will be based on that branch, etc. So I really recommend, if you haven't tried Cloudflare Workers, it's really nice thing. To finish the video, I like to show how to clean this up after you experimented. So we can run just a couple commands. The first one will destroy a DB for us, just this, and we click yes. And second one is to destroy our worker. And yeah, that's it. So that was Cloudflare Workers. Really nice if you want to build some kind of API, etc. Just a caveat, if you're planning to build an application where you need your static assets like images, CSS files, etc., you should look into a different thing that's called Cloudflare Pages that supports this type of things. And also a good thing is that Hono supports that as well. But it's slightly more complex than with Cloudflare Workers, but it's pretty cool as well. So I'll show that in the next video, but for now, that's all. And hope you enjoyed the video. Have a nice day. See you next video. Bye-bye.